When I hear him saying that, you see, the current youth are courageous, it's another generation, they don't even fear a police person. The day we break down our social order, that is the beginning of anarchy. All developed countries have got orders, even during freedom of expression, demonstration. In fact, they have designated way of expressing themselves. But the current scenario where we are seeing young people engaging direct to an extent of insulting a police woman, an extent of clobbering a police person, is something we should not praise. Because the moment we begin to see that one as a progress, that is the beginning of destroying the nation. Because what puts the nation together is the order, and that is why the law is there. The case of Ojwang, which is unfortunate, and I want to condole with the family, is that a senior police officer had complained that his name has been defamed. It was a question of defamation. Printing anything attacking on a person, especially over higher office like that, was character assassination. And because the law has provided mechanism of complaining, he went to complain. It's unfortunate what happened, which is something that all of us, we should speak about and against it, that every Kenyan is innocent until proven killed, where a decision was made to an extent of executing his life in this scenario is what now the question comes up.
Now that you brought up about the issue of defamation.
Yes, I'm coming up there.
It's a civil issue. It's not a criminal matter.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, whatever it was a civil or whatever defamation, yes. But what happened there, as we've agreed together, I mean, there was no any justification of Ojwang's life to be taken away. I mean, so that's how I'm asking. Is there a deliberate conspiration to drive an agenda? I've looked at, on several occasions, men in uniform, the police officers. I saw one the other day, it's unfortunate. I saw what the minister, there was a statement made by the minister, though he came back to correct it by reading out the act. And I saw a police in uniform, publicly recording himself, speaking directly against the policy holder. I think where we are going, the way issues are going now, I've also seen another police officer coming out printing on social media some statement castigating a force. And you know, the way police, the way security is operating is on a command strategy. But the moment we've seen juniors coming out publicly, that one tells you there's a bigger problem somewhere.
Within.
It's already interfered. That even the people we feel that we will run to them have already taken sides or is confused. My fear is that. Because yes, I know there could be some dissatisfaction, but I think there's a way security apparatus in the flow of command agitate their issues, not coming to public, to politicize. But when you see a scenario where hate, where politics of taking a side has gone to the security apparatus system itself, there's a system breakdown. Believe you me, in the Muli, we are in problem. And this is an issue that we need to address. I know there are rights of the men in force. There are issues that they need to be addressed, but I doubt whether we should all of us be competing in this platform or politics to exaggerate or extend the same issues. Yes, I agree that we have freedom of expression. I agree with what young people are saying. They are Kenyans, and there are young Kenyans who would want to see the country govern well. They want to see a better Kenya than what they read in the paper, than what my colleague here came through when they were in college. I mean, they have a picture, they have an image, they have a dream, and this is what they are speaking about it. But how these things are being addressed, how the way we are putting up the nation, destroying properties of people in the name of demonstration, in the name of goodnism. At what point are we going to say or sanitize this process? At what point are we calling evil, evil, and praise the right thing? Because as long as we are confusing all these together, we are losing the point. Right. So lastly, what you asked is, I agree, totality, that we should not politicize our system. We should not systematically use the people in place, either in civil service, either in public service, either in security system, to trace or to address or to perpetrate an agenda. That now speaks about the issue of recruitment. Because I've been asking people, I've been hearing people complaining on the issues of ethnical issues, nepotism. It looks like in the system, there's public service that is interfered in such a manner that they are taking calls from a certain quarter. So we are blaming the seniors, whereas the juniors are fighting the system. I mean, I have no facts, but this is what I'm reading. I'm sure every other Kenyan is
listening to all of you, then
yes.
It's probably impossible to delink politics from this discussion.
This is what we need to discuss.
Look, it's very easy. And I don't know why we are belaboring this point. It's the easiest point ever. Make me understand. I have never been to Keganjo police training, but make me understand. Out of their 9 months of training thereabout, which lesson were they taught? How to work with goons inside a demonstration. That there was one lesson where they were taught, today we are teaching you how to work hand in hand with goons. There has never been such a lesson. The problem we are having is I think we are heaping too much problems on our police force. Our politicians are the problem. Can you imagine a national leader coming on national television and saying that I'm going to bring Pokot warriors into the streets of Nairobi to beat up demonstrators? That man is walking scot-free. A person who promises violence on national TV is walking scot-free. A governor comes on national TV and says, last time ulimkuta kama siko tayari, this time around I'll be ready for you. That's a governor promising to bring goons into town, promising on national TV to beat up young people. He's walking scot-free, and this year is all over the place looking for the people who are bringing violence into town. A sitting MCA, who I have never seen speak in small letters, he's always shouting, he's always speaking in capital letters. He was all over the national TV, spitting on tables, speaking about how he's going to make sure that they quell these demonstrations. That sitting MCA is walking scot-free. And a young person who put a timetable about how he's going to demonstrate carrying a flag and water and a phone is disappeared. Let us be honest with one another. I think our police force is professional. The problem is when we have people who never attended police training giving instructions to police and telling police now, we are giving you some goons to work with. And all of you, even here in TV47, you have enough photos, you have enough videos of goons surrounding a police Land Rover, carrying weapons, having a conversation with police, and then walking together with police to beat up young people who are carrying a flag and water. The conversation here should be, the Constitution is very clear in Article 37 that every person has a right to picket peacefully and unarmed. The first thing police should do when they descend from their Land Rover is to beat up anybody who is armed, to disarm everybody who is carrying a weapon, and to throw them in a police Land Rover and take them to Central Police Station. Those are the first people you should. But the police is working comfortably with these people. So it is not the police that is the problem. The problem is that our police that is so professional has been allowed to take instructions from hooligans who've never attended police training. And that is the first problem. The second problem is this. We had gone to Haiti hoping to change Haiti. And I think we did benchmarking from them and brought Haiti here. And what we are doing now is creating a goon republic where goons are having a field day. I said, for example, as Fanyamambo Kinuthia, I have my reservations with Sabasaba. I'll tell you why. This is the picture. There will be young people who will come with flags and water, as they always do. Then these horrible creatures who have promised to bring goons in town on national TV will bring their goons. And then for the first time, business people have learned a lesson because they've seen what has happened to their businesses. They will arm young people with crude weapons to protect their businesses. And then there will be police on the streets. What kind of demonstration do you think Sabasaba will be? It will be a demonstration where everybody who can carry a weapon will carry a weapon. And some of them, when you ask them, they'll say, we've been hired by the business community to protect their shops. The others will say, we've been hired by a particular politician to beat up Gen Zs. The others will say, we came up with only flags and we came to push for good governance. That is why Sabasaba will be a very tricky demonstration. And that's why I'm telling people, before you talk about going there, ask yourself, is this the bloodbath that you want to be part of? Finally, when we decide as a country that we want to be a nation governed by the rule of law, why are young people on the streets? They are on the streets because more than a year later, nobody has addressed the issue of more than 200 of them that are missing. And nobody has wanted to have a conversation about the fact that they were killed and maimed, and nobody cares about it. When they come to the streets, they send Esther Passaris to come up with a draconian, horrible bill telling us that they are coming to protect us from demonstrators. And we tell them, oh, okay. And then they sentimentalize it. They even tell us that we are trying to protect the businesses of people. That sounds very nice, until they start telling you which businesses those are. It is Parliament, 100 meters they cordon off. It is the office of the president, they cordon off 100 meters. It is State House. I have not seen this bill, and this is an administration that was speaking of Mama Mboga and bottom up. I have not seen this bill have a conversation and saying you cannot have demonstrations within 100 meters of an M-Pesa shop because you're going to rob that M-Pesa shop.
And we'll come to that discussion.
So
There's something that it should not go
Yes.
without being substantiated by Kinoti also. When you say police are taking directives from civilian, exactly what we've said, we don't want to politicize a police service. It's good to be substantiated because it's a national TV, it's a national platform and dialogue. When you say taking instructions, when you know the truth, that even for a given police team, or you can call it a command to come out, there must be a flow of hierarchy of information. Before they execute, before they undertake any instructions, there is an order to be followed.
Fred, these people, I think, are new in town. Can you please be kind enough as TV47 to show them videos of police working together with goons to beat up innocent
That's
civilians?
the word.
Now, once you show them that video, because it is not manufactured, then they will explain to us what coincidence. It's a very fantastic coincidence that a politician will come on national TV and promise to bring goons, and then automatically when those goons are on
he's running away from
they are working with the
question.
policeman. So
He's
what
running,
we want
I just have only one
remember,
question.
before those politicians did that, there was a very high-ranking politician in this country who went and told the governor of Nairobi, specifically giving him instructions to protect the city. And what does the governor of Nairobi do? And what do these other people do? There is enough documentaries done by the media showing us the link between politicians and these goons who are on the streets. The problem we have, if these police were not taking instructions from politicians, the first thing they would have done as a professional police force is to arrest anybody who was carrying a weapon. Explain to us here, because you are with us, why a policeman will arrest a man carrying a flag and leave out a man who is carrying a rungu. Just explain that to us.
Okay.
Then we shall understand.
Are you satisfied with this response?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay. Yes, Bwana Sossion, and I want us to wrap up this discussion so that we can go to that bill by Esther Passaris.
Yes, I was actually going to chime on the same of that.
Okay, then we can continue with that.
But yes, the bill by Esther Passaris cannot be rubbished. Now, with the experience of these violent political actions christened as demonstrations, and to me, the best definition is not orderly demonstrations as envisaged by Article 37 of the Constitution. These are violent political actions which you are trying to baptize, and they don't meet the threshold of civilized demonstration. And that is why Article 37 remains a hanging clause without an enabling legislation. Fred, yours truly is a professor of demonstrations. I've organized demonstrations for many days and the longest in the country. And you know, it is good when you organize demonstration, make sure they're not infiltrated by those not having interest. And when Fanyamambo here classifies so many groups, it gives us an outright challenge that Article 37 cannot operate the way it is. And so the bill by Esther Passaris, which of course Honorable Ruku had proposed far much earlier on, it is now clear we need an enabling legislation to guide demonstration so that Kenyans who want to express themselves on daily basis can be guided and protected by law. The business people who want to conduct businesses in town can as well be protected. And other Kenyans who want to do their own things and exercise their rights are protected properly as per Article 24 of the Constitution. And I think the problem that we have here is civility and the manner in which we organize demonstrations.
All right.
If the young men would like to walk to town, demonstrate, there will be a legislation that will allow them, and they will be protected. And if you look at very many jurisdictions, look at South Africa, for example, COSATU and other organized groups, they can do a massive countrywide demonstration in a day, but it doesn't affect anybody. We don't lose life, we don't lose property. But what the political groups here in Kenya is to trigger young men to walk into the streets without order, to conflict with business entities, to conflict with other people. That is why you get this other...
Allow me to read.
We have a problem.
Allow me to read
we
out
have a problem
Article 37.
in dealing with this. And I think it is right to have that piece of legislation. The
Article
other
37,
bit...
just a moment. Article 37 of the Constitution reads like this. Every person has a right, peaceably and unarmed, to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions to public authorities. And even when you organize when you organize demonstrations, you usually present petitions.
Yes, petitions.
So
and
when
there
you
is always a leader.
So when you barricade Parliament, 100 meters radius, and I am demonstrating and I wish to present a petition to Parliament, what do you mean?
Let me explain that. The issue of 100 meters away from Parliament is a recent opinion by one or two or a few other people.
You just said you support the proposal of the bill.
Listen, Fred. That is a proposal. It has not been enacted into law. And once this bill goes through public participation, it shall be improved. And for me, I don't believe you can barricade Parliament 100 meters away. There must be a designated place within Parliament where public can surrender their petitions and any other public
What exactly do you support
so
in this
the
bill?
law will clarify. The law will clarify that. I don't think, let's not get confused with the opinions and suggestions that are coming
Once
up.
you declare support
Somebody
for a
can
bill
talk
like
of
this,
100 meters and another one will talk of 1 kilometer.
We are specifically
we're talking
about...
We might land on the gate of Parliament.
And lastly,
Fred,
we're talking about a specific bill here that has that proposal.
Allow me to finish naturally. Let me...
Because now you'll drive us from a conversation we've already started.
What Fanya Kinuti was talking about, that some member of Parliament said he would bring some Pokot warriors to town, and the governor said, I will protect the city, don't come to the city, and all that. Those are the politics and political statements of the issue at hand. Do you think Kamuket can bring warriors all the way from Pokot really to the city? And when we pick it to become a real big issue, I think we are losing the plot. The issue here is that we must have legal, orderly, constitutional demonstrations protted at all times. But you cannot have political actions.
We've had claims that political
bordering of violence.
Allow me to ask you this, because you've just said it's impossible to bring people to Nairobi. Yet many politicians have said that some of the people who came to Nairobi who were in the city were not from the city itself, that they came from different parts.
Nobody can account that.
Unless what we saw in Kiamburu.
Nobody can account that.
Physically,
we're going to break. Okay.
When we have political actions, political activities and actions that
point is made. Allow me to go to Allow me to go to Bwana Ambugu. Back to the issue about the bill by Esther Passaris.
First and foremost, as much as we don't want to accept, the bill by Esther Passaris is a bill by Esther Passaris. It can be accepted, it can be rejected, it can be amended, it can be thrown out. Yes. I mean, really, the fact that Esther Passaris has decided out of her own will or from being told by other people to come up with a bill is just exactly that. And why do I say this? I had a bill like that when I was in Parliament. And I said this immediately after the post-election, the violence after 2017 elections, when ODM went to the streets. I have said on this station, 13 years ago I went to court and got an order that instructed police officers to give me protection so that I could go to Limuru and hold a demonstration and hold a meeting. It was called Limuru 2B. 13 years ago. 9 years ago I went back to court again and got another order. Now, as a non-demonstrator, the first order, I was seeking it as a demonstrator, the right to demonstrate, right? Then in 2016, I went back and I was asking, okay, sawa, we have a right to demonstrate. what are the rights of the non-demonstrators when demonstrators are demonstrating? Because you see, we also have to remember all of us are Kenyans. We talk about Article 37, which is very important. But there's Article 39 that gives us freedom of movement. It allows any one of us to move wherever we want. Now, when you're demonstrating and you obstruct my movement, you're actually now interfering with my right, who is not a demonstrator. And we have to agree, you as you demonstrate and you exercise your right to demonstrate, how about me who is in a car or who is in a public service vehicle or on a boda, who needs to go to work or out or continue my work? How do we integrate those two? And then there's also Article 33, which we also keep quoting, freedom of expression. As you're expressing yourself over there, and I don't want to be, see, we have people going to court to say this church is having very loud noise and they're interfering with my peace of mind. So as you're doing your demonstrations, how is your demonstration affecting me who is not doing my demonstration? I've given an example. I have my own kiosk and you want to demonstrate outside my kiosk. I am not government. I cannot receive your petition. Why are you closing my business? You know, we have to, and whether we like it or not, because let me tell you, Fred, we are facing a very real danger of passing laws that are actually going to affect our freedoms out of fear or reaction or what? Because if we don't accept that...
Are you faulting the Constitution, the provision?
No. But you see, the Constitution is a living document. We made
Are you faulting the current provision?
No, I'm not faulting it. What I'm saying is, as we exercise our rights to demonstrate, which is enshrined in the Constitution, we also have to figure out the rights of those people who are not demonstrating. You have family, we have parents. Forget even about our children. Assuming my dad or my dad, the canon, decides to travel to Nairobi, and somehow he just did not notice that today there was going to be demonstrations. Because, you know, he has absolutely nothing obligates him to organize his travel to or from Nairobi based on the fact that you want to do a demonstration. So if he wants to come to Nairobi on 7th, for example, Sabasaba, and he travels all the way from Nyeri, either by private car or by matatu, gets to Nairobi, and then at T-Room or at Kencom, as he's figuring out how to get a vehicle to my home, bumps into this crowd of other Kenyans demonstrating. I want you to be able to assure me that he is going to go on with his business. He's going to be able to cross, get into a matatu or pick a cab.
Whose responsibility is that?
You see, now, that is what we need to talk about. Because you see, as we talk about the responsibility of the police, and I said this the last time I was here, when the police come to the street during demonstrations, they are out in the street to demonstrate to protect two people. The people who are demonstrating and the people who are not. We have this belief that when police come to the street during demonstrations, they are there to protect the demonstrators alone. No. If you, and I asked, I've asked this before, when you have young people in the streets, and we don't have, not like during when Akina Nat were doing demonstrations and they came in uniform. And you tell me, you see that group of 100 people, all those are demonstrators. Then you show me another group of 100 young people, and they are robbing a lawyer somewhere around a corner. And you tell me, okay, those are demonstrators, those are goons. At what point? Because when those guys who are robbing that lawyer, and you saw that clip,
okay,
when they were robbing that lawyer and they went around a corner, when they go around the other corner and join the group of demonstrators, how do you tell them apart? How do we make... Because let me finish, Fred, let me finish this point. As you take that break, let me finish this point. As we make our laws, as we continue exercising our rights, we have to remember that we have two sides to every right. There's a person exercising it, and the person who has chosen not to.
Okay.
And you have to protect both.
And who's responsible for protecting both either side? And that is the question.
Yes.
Let's take a short break. We're discussing this bill by Esther Passaris on it's a Public Order Act Amendment Bill that's already before the National Assembly. And on the front page of the Daily Nation, they ask, is she a gun for hire? You're watching Morning Cafe. We'll be right back after this.
world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Aurora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47. We continue examining the bill currently before the National Assembly, sponsored by Nairobi Woman Representative Esther Passaris, on containing protests. And on page 2 of this standard paper, it says, a year after Gen Z protests breached parliament buildings. Anyway, let's move on because I am trying to find that statement. Esther Passaris is sponsoring the Public Order Act Amendment Bill that's already before the National Assembly, and we're just looking at some of the proposals. One of them, and I think the most notorious, is the barricading of some state buildings, including Parliament, a radius of 100 meters from Parliament.
I don't agree
100
with that.
meters from any court.
I don't agree
100
with that.
meters from any restricted area, including military installations and such, police stations. Is it even possible?
I don't even agree with that, because a lot of the times when you're doing a demonstration, I'm assuming you're demonstrating to take a petition somewhere. I mean, if I want to take a petition to Parliament, for example, you can't stop me 100 meters from where I'm supposed to take it. You can't stop me 100 meters from taking it to Office of the President or from somewhere. What I think we need to do is create a structure of, okay, once you want to demonstrate, and I said we must agree on protocols for demonstrations. We really must. We really must agree on, because we have this problem as a country. We want to exercise our expression, our freedoms, but we don't want to be accountable for them.
Okay.
See, for example, Fred, if I make a statement about you, I'm exercising my right of expression. But then I also need to be accountable for that statement that I have made. I need to be able to be asked, okay, you said Fred has done ABCD. Can you please explain? Okay. I can't just make a statement. If I want to go and demonstrate, then, and we need to hold this. I don't agree with my brother about Kamket making that statement and saying he's going to bring Pokot warriors. Whether or not he can bring Pokot warriors to Nairobi is not the question. The fact that he made that statement is something he needs to be held accountable for. Please come, tell us. Okay. What did you mean? Why are you bringing them as, knowing Kamket and the way he's mysterious, he'll explain he wanted to bring them to be demonstrators. But explain, what were you saying? What did you mean when you said, if Sakaja made a statement about protecting Nairobi, he should be held accountable for it. So we must learn to hold accountable people for what they say, and not just public officers, everybody. So that we now carry that accountability for all of us. When I make a statement, hold me accountable for it. When Fred makes a statement, hold them accountable.
I think, picking from what my friend is saying, then also it will help us around. When I saw somebody somewhere saying, so-and-so has put an investment in given region, but for that investment to work, he has to vary his own people to come and utilize that investment. I don't know whether even to employ people there. It was a question of putting up an hotel in Meru or something like that. I think those are careless things that we must avoid any given time, especially when we are people of interest or we are seen to be commanding or being in a position of leadership. Okay. Coming back to Esther Basari's bill, I think hearing people complaining, it's a draconian bill, we should appreciate that at least somebody has taken a step to introduce something that is going to bring order. Remember, problems are the cause of invasions. The problem we are seeing now in our demonstration, that is guided by the Constitution, very well guided by the Constitution, because Article 37 has provided that particular space for Kenyans to demonstrate, picket, and express their feelings and submit their petitions. But if you look at the Kenyan demonstration compared to any other progressive demography in the world, I think it is not the right way. Because one, in the Mule, on that day, from morning, and even preceding day.
Are you faulting the provision in the Constitution?
Pardon? We are not faulting the law. The Constitution is self-explanatory, saying there is no any legislation that will be passed that is in contravention with the Constitution. And to that extent of conflict, the Constitution stands, right? And any other law is declared repugnant to that level. So, I have no worry on what Esther Basaris is doing. At the moment, it is at the committee stage. That is a departmental committee scrutinizing it. It is also open for members of public to present their memorandums, to contribute to it so that we can further enrich it. Remember, Esther Basaris is a member of parliament for Nairobi County, where mass destructions were undertaken. She's also protecting the interests of the people, the business community. And also I'm saying,
but in the bill, there's no proposal to protect private business. It's about...
You need to scrutinize, because it's going to bring about order. It's going to define how to go about. It's going to even prescribe places of putting the petitions or to assemble. Because tell me, what is fair? Is it justifiable on that day? In the morning, there was no cars in Nairobi. All streets were empty. There were no matatus. Remember, matatus are employing these young people, but they never came to town. There was no communication. Remember, trade and economy moved together with transportation. There was no business on that day. Shops were closed. Tell me the justification of the losses that were encountered on that day. No employment, no shops open, no revenue for the same government.
Should you blame the police who barricaded roads into town?
I'm just putting it that way because of the previous actions that has taken place. Tell me what did the government of Nyandarua did wrong for the assets that are meant to give service to the people of Nyandarua to be burned down? Tell me what is the justification of police stations to be burned down, where now we are discussing about police being a sole mandate to protect the citizens, yet we are burning down those particular assets. That is why there is a need to have a legislation that is going to harmonize, give space to the demonstrators, and at the same time, allow the economy to run, allow the business people to run, allow employment to run, allow security forces to undertake their work, let the nation run. I mean, if you have issues, come out, take your petition, after submitting your petition, go home or assemble in such a manner that you want
now
to
that you're
speak to the
considering
nation.
a particular
But
bill,
what
a
is the
particular
justification
proposal?
of Ketias? Listen, what was the justification of Ketias in Roadblock Eldoret to be broken down in the evening? In the call of demonstration. What was the justification of Naivas in Nyeri to be burned down? So tell me now, that shop is closed. Where are those young people who are working there? Okay. I mean, so that we are saying this, I mean, let's allow us, because it's a problem here. Can we all discuss? But can you look at this bill of Esther Passaris, where there are issues that we feel they are contravening the Constitution?
There may be the need.
We can even further enrich it by putting more information to it and then allow stages of parliament to run. It is yet to come to second reading for it to be debated. It is yet to come to third reading. For now, every clause to be looked at, item clause by clause. Okay. At that time, we can carry the amendments.
Yes, Bonafanya Mambo.
Allow me to start from where Mheshimiwa left. He was talking of very many people having been seen on Kiambu Road, on Thika Road coming towards town.
In Kiambu Road, yeah.
Mheshimiwa, let me help you. On a normal day, Juja has a population of 490,000 people. The people you saw on the roads were not even 10,000. Roiro has a population of 350,000 people. Na haujahesabu the other constituencies. These people come to town every day. Your police. Najua Isaac Mwaura wenyu ndio alikuja akatuambia it's a normal working day.
It's our
These
police.
people, yes, it's the police of this UDA, because what they did, they came first. Look,
that is the politics you're saying. Let me explain. Would you want to entertain that one when we call our police?
Let's have this conversation.
So if we go that dimension in Kenya, what Fanyamambo is saying, I think we are losing the focus.
Let's have this conversation.
Be fair to yourself.
You need to withdraw that statement. He has to withdraw that statement. Otherwise, we cannot continue having a discussion where we are branding our police officers.
Fanyamambo continue.
The Kenya Police Service comes and blocks Thika Road and stops people, more than 100,000, 200,000, who ordinarily come to town every day to work. And then they are surprised that there are so many people at that barricade. Where did you expect them to go through? And then you start saying they've been brought from Kirinyaga and Nyeri because I heard the CS saying that. And you ask him, on a normal day, even right now, go to Thika Road, it is full. There is more than 490,000 people who live in Juja alone. There's another 350,000 people who live, no, that is Roiro, about 350,000 who live in Juja. Those are some of the most populated constituencies we have in this country. So it was normal to have those people on Thika Road, and they'll always be there. You cannot take that away from that. They'll always be there. They always go to town. The reason why that barricade is because on their way to work, they found that place closed. Now let's continue. Albert Ojwang dies, and people go on maandamano. Instead of us as a nation having a conversation on how we are going to have a bill, an anti-abductions bill, we are having a bill on how to regulate demonstrations that are as a result of abductions. Can you see where we are as a nation? That instead of us saying, wait a minute, Albert Ojwang has been abducted, he has been killed in a police cell or wherever, but in the hands of police. And now, instead of us thinking of what we are going to do as a country so that no other person dies in such circumstances, and come with a bill to regulate how you are arrested, how you are presented before court, how you will not be tortured, how we shall not be told you hit your head on a wall. We are having a bill to have a conversation about how people should not go to the streets, or how they should go to the streets after a person has died in the hands of police. So they are not intent on stopping people from dying in the hands of police. No. They are intent on making sure they control how you demonstrate after people have been killed in the hands of the police. That is where the irony is. But let us continue. Now, hii bill munashinda mkisema, it is very simple. We have 290 constituencies. My MP, KJ, just come to Dagoretti South with this bill for public participation. We will tell you what we think about it. Let each, hata wewe mheshimiwa, uende kwako na hii bill, ukute watu wako, uambie mnataka kwenda kupitisha hii bill parliament. What Kenyans will tell you, do it. It's very simple. Let's stop having a lot of English about this bill. It is very simple. I want you as an elected member of parliament, the whole 290 of you, to go with that bill to a hall, because you have to do public participation in all the 290 constituencies. Go and tell them that we have looked as a country, tumeona shida si kuua Albert Ojwang, so we are not coming up with a bill around abductions. We've decided that the problem is how you're demonstrating. We want to come up with a bill around how we protect those people, those things that we think are important. You want to protect State House from us, and you're renovating it with our money. I mean, let's be serious. That's a public place. If you look at how demonstrations happen in the US, some people even go with tents and they decide, you know, a demonstration is supposed to cause public disturbance, not destruction, but disturbance. It's supposed to make the government feel that there's a problem. People in the US go sometimes with tents and they put right outside near the White House and they sleep in them. And a responsible police force does not come beating them. They don't destroy businesses. By the way, since independence, this is the first time that we are seeing people wielding weapons in demonstrations. We have never allowed, all the time we used to see people with stones. I allowed them. We used to see people with stones because they would throw the stone and hide and then you wouldn't even. But right now, someone permanently leaves home with a very big stick, others with pangas and rungus, and we saw them. And they are verily walking on the streets and nobody is having a conversation about it. Let us first agree that these demonstrations became a problem when we first allowed armed people into them. We have to make sure that there will be no demonstration where a single, ukionekana tu na weapon, you're an enemy of the state. Wewe kwanza unafaa kushikwa na ufungwe same day. Finally, yes, the Nyandarua and the Kikuyu. Let me make it very interesting for you. You know, I come from Dagoretti South constituency. And so I can see Kengongo police station, which was banned. It is just there. It's at home. Do you know the angel of the Lord appeared at night and spoke to our policemen in a dream and told them, verily, verily, I say unto you, there shall be violent demonstrations tomorrow, so please do not bring your personal cars into the police station. All our policemen where we live, by the safest place, they usually drive, you know, God has blessed them. One has a Fielder, one has an NZD, one has an Axio. They always park them at the police station. Kengongo police station was burnt down on the day of the Maandamano. Let me surprise you. Public cars with GK number plates were burnt down. Private cars that were at the police station were burnt down. But for some reason, because the angel of the Lord had spoken to our policemen, none of them lost a personal car. None of them found it necessary to park their car on the morning of that day in that police station. Why? Because God is so faithful. He speaks to our policemen. He tells them when not to bring their cars to the police station. In Nyandarua, let's go to Nyandarua. I can tell you the same angel appeared before everybody who parks their car at the county assembly of Nyandarua. And I can tell you in Dimuli, there was no single car that is private that was lost in Nyandarua. In Dimuli, we have to speak these truths, that we lost a lot of public property.
Allow him to finish. What's the point?
No, the point is,
let him drive his point.
The point is, when we are having these conversations, why aren't we seeing a county officer who ordinarily parks there every other day? And the people in Nyandarua are asking me these questions. Watu wanafanyanga kwa county, they always park here. But conveniently on the day of the Maandamano, something magical happened. The only cars we lost were public cars.
Are you suggesting that they had prior information?
No, I'm just saying the angel spoke to them. Now, finally, kabisa.
Okay, we need to give Bwana Sosiona.
Our good leader of majority came to... No, there are many. Our good leader of majority comes to parliament. He comes to parliament and tells us that goons had been sent to attack his father, a 105-year-old. By the way, I condemn whoever sent those goons. May that person never know peace. We don't want a man 105 years old killed by goons. Something magical happened. The police were able to stop that. But within the same constituency, they were not able to stop the goons from burning the court and the police station, where those policemen work. So when it is personal to someone who is important, the police are able to stop it. But when it is the courts, they were not able. In the same constituency, he tells us clearly that the goons were sent, they were not able. But on this side, they were able. Let us take every person seriously and everything seriously.
Okay.
If police can stop goons from attacking the leader of majority's parents, they should also be able to stop the same goons from attacking the court and the police station.
Yes, Bonasosio.
No, we cannot expect the police to enforce even a law that does not exist and enforce law and order. The police must be empowered. Of course, the amendment that Esther Passaris is bringing is on the Public Order Act. It was not right to enact our constitution, and now 15 years down the line, we are seeing that it is completely difficult to effectively implement Article 37 in a manner.
And I'll ask you this
in
question.
which
Are you
it was
faulting the
endless.
Constitution? Are you faulting
I'm not
the
faulting
provision?
the Constitution. The Constitution is good.
All the legislation.
We did not prepare the required legislation to implement
operationalize it.
But the Public Order Act has been in existence.
Yes, and this goes to the Constitution the Nyachai Transitional Committee. Those were gaps, and these are gaps that can be fixed now so that Kenyans can enjoy the benefits of the same, so that we don't stop we stop glorifying violence and arguing all over the place. I think, to me, it is timely that we have a piece of legislation, whether within the Public Order Act or whether it's a standalone. And I think Parliament this time should not hurry with this legislation. Some of the clauses that have been proposed within Esther Passari's bill should even be expanded. You can't tell people not to be 100 meters away from Parliament. If the people cannot access Parliament, then Parliament ceases to have its purpose. All government offices should be open for submission of petitions. Fanyamamba has said something that is correct. If you go to the White House, I've been there severally, there is a corner of the White House where you are allowed to demonstrate and picket daily. And there are people who have been demonstrating there daily on international issues for a long time. And that has brought peace. When you allow people to speak out and to submit their petition, even these conflicts in the street will disappear. The lacuna was lack of a law that guides people to do this, and you can demonstrate daily. You can't limit people from doing that. And you do it in a manner that Mheshimiwa is talking about here. Don't interfere with my sitting. If some Kenyans love sitting under some tree on the street, don't interfere with that.
Who enforces that? Who enforces that?
No, it's not a question of enforcing. You first of all have a legislation.
There will be criminal elements.
The law itself, listen, the law itself, once the law exists with clarity, the activities will automatically fall in place. And
when people defy
since
the law,
it is within the Public Order Act, it is the police that will enforce.
Exactly.
It will be
It is
easier.
a question.
But
Are
when
we
you
saying
tell
the police have failed?
to enforce a law that does not exist, then it's fundamentally wrong.
And that's the question, because you suggested that if I want to come to Nairobi, my rights should be protected as well as the rights of the demonstrators.
Before you go to Wambugu.
Who does that and who has
Allow me to finish before you go to Wambugu. So we agree we need this law. But then we need to agree on the specific clauses so that Kenya can have orderly demonstrations in all our cities. And Esther Passaris has all the legitimacy to move this bill. Why? She is a member of Parliament of Nairobi County. Okay. And the vulnerable people suffer in Nairobi, whether women, businesses, and all that. So
we're talking about enriching.
Trying to portray her as a lapdog, I think the media should apologize and withdraw that cartoon and anyone else trying to demonize her.
This is the cartoon on the
He's the
standard.
MP of the city, and she has every right to bring in a petition.
The leash is yellow.
No, I want to be
green.
colorblind myself. As long as you present.
But Wanambugu, because you raised a fundamental issue about the difference between the demonstrators and others who are not demonstrating.
Yes.
And the question is, what is the role of the police? Because they've also been accused of being perpetrators of violence during peaceful demonstrations.
And I agree. But let me say, me, I don't have those problems or faulting. Me, I can fault the Constitution. The Constitution is not a religious document. It is actually a document we keep working on, which we can keep faulting. You actually have the right to say, I don't agree with this part. Because even as we passed the Constitution in 2010, not all of us supported it.
I feel the provision, especially Article 37, because that's what we're basing the discussion on. That
No. I don't feel that. I feel it can be improved. And that's actually a right we need to be alive to every time we're talking about the Constitution. We can't, the Constitution is not set in stone. We are evolving democracy, we are an evolving nation, we are an evolving state. Think about it, 2010, we didn't have a situation about the kind of technological advancements we have today. And we need to move our laws to stay in tandem with the developments that are going on. And when I talk about the issue of demonstrations and Article 37, you see, why I say we need to figure out how exactly we're going to implement Article 37, because we keep talking about Article 37 from our history. I've heard Fanyamombo say that this was the first time people came out with sticks and weapons. In 2017 and in 2013, after post-election violence, actually in 2017, Nairobi set up a militia that used to do press conferences. And when we talked about it here, they used to be called Nairobi Business Community. They used to wear American Army fatigues, and they would do press conferences, and during demonstrations, ODM demonstrations, they would actually come out in the street carrying weapons, and they would say, we are not going to allow you to come here. So that lacuna that has been there for the last 10 years is something we need to talk about. And it keeps coming back. And Fanyamombo has actually talked about the fears of Sabasaba. And they are very legitimate. In Nyeri, this last election, I'll not talk about the gentleman by name, but there's a gentleman whose business got invaded last year and burnt down. This particular time, he actually had an entire group of people he had mobilized to protect his business, right? Mm-hmm. Why? Because he felt, as you guys demonstrate out there, the last time you guys demonstrated, you came and burnt my business. I'm not going to allow that to happen again. And then you ask the question you're asking, who is responsible for protecting these non-demonstrators? It is the police. The question is, what law are they implementing to protect non-demonstrators? And this is where we're talking about the lacuna in law.
There's currently no provision to protect public property?
Because right now, our weight is on the demonstrators. We believe that the demonstrator has every right to come and blockade an entire street. And if I have an office in that building, and I start trying to insist, and the police need to create for me a path to go into that building, then the police is interfering with the demonstrator. That is how we are operating today. If I am, like now when the police put barricades, I remember when Raila had called for demonstrations immediately after this last election, and they shut down Nairobi, right? They closed down Nairobi to stop Raila from getting into town with the demonstrators. They didn't just stop Raila from getting into town. They stopped anybody with a vehicle from getting into town. Now, as they were pushing back against the demonstrators, they were interfering also with non-demonstrators.
This is action, direct action by police.
Yes, and that is why I'm saying, if you ask the police, they will say we were protecting the city from demonstrators. But you're protecting the city from demonstrators, and you're also stopping me, who is not a demonstrator, from coming into the city. And this, as I finish, let me finish this point. Why we must sit and talk about a law. And now, the problem is that we're not getting carried away with Esther Passari's law.
That's a law that,
you see,
that's a proposal.
That's what I'm saying. We're getting carried away. It's an opportunity, because remember, once you propose a law, it can be changed completely from your proposal.
From your original.
Once you present it to the House can do absolutely anything they want with that law. They can change it. They can. And what we should be saying, what Fanyamombo should be saying, is this law that Passaris has actually introduced. I am going to pick it, and I am going to introduce these particular clauses need to be changed like this. You understand? So that if the first thing is, do we agree that there is need for a law on how we operationalize demonstrations? It's either a yes or no. The minute we agree that there is, then we now can discuss about how it will be implemented. Right. The issue is, do we agree or not?
Unfortunately, we have to take a break. We're taking a short break. We'll be back, and I'll give you the first opportunity to go. You're watching Morning Cafe.
is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe on TV 47. My name is Freddy Ndimuli. I'm still in studio with Fanyamambo Kinodhia, Wilson Sosion, Julius Ruto, MP, and Ngunjiri Wambugu. Bwana Ruto had promised to give you an opportunity just to finalize on this issue about the bill.
Thank you so much. I think justice has been done to this bill. Just wanted to make a communication to the Kenyans that please, Parliament has a procedure on how to make bills. And bills are meant to sort out some given problems. So what is happening now is to invite every Kenyan of interest who feels that on those particular clauses there is an area they feel there is excesses. Please, you are invited to give a proposal. Directly, either through memorandum or even seek an audience through the committee, and you will be allowed to do that. Lastly, about my friend here, Fanyamambo, trying to justify some scenarios, and I would want to invite him after this show. Good enough where we are is not far from Kiambu Road. I want us to invite him and together with any camera to see whether those people are there today. Because he's saying the number of people around this area is so huge population, because that was an organized thing. And then when you say you are aware, I mean, what happened in the Kingongo police station, no, there were no motor vehicles for police, why government vehicles, it has already given an initiation that on Sabasaba he has some reservations, that probably people will come out to protect their business. Why do I feel Fanyamambo knows something? I think he's a person of interest on this matter. He can provide sufficient information on the ongoing investigation on these issues, because he's sending some signals, giving some justifications on what happened. Then he shows he's privy to some quarter of organizing team on what is going to happen. Okay. So lastly, I think, as I was saying, the main point I wanted to pass, because I'm a member of parliament in this particular panelist, is to send the signal to Kenyans. What is happening now is the right thing. And never forget the phrase. We were told, let's pass constitution as it is. We will be amending in future. Let's pass it. So probably, maybe it is the mature time we need to discuss on some clauses, how to further give more strength, not to wash away the benefits, but rather to strengthen it. Okay. For the purpose of Kenyans. Because it is for all Kenyans. It is for the demonstrator and non-demonstrator.
And that statement you've just made about the possibility of amending the Constitution rides very well with the next discussion. So yesterday, and the question the Daily Nation is asking, is this the first amendment to the Constitution, united in greed? The National Assembly, which rarely agrees on so many things, yesterday unanimously passed. They unanimously voted to change the Constitution to put under their control 3 funds which have already been declared unconstitutional. One of them, of course, is a CDF. Bwana Fanyamambo, tutaanza na wewe as you get to react to what he has just said. The Senate has already said that they could actually counter this, so we do expect a battle. The story is on pages 4 and 5 of this paper. Senators have threatened to shoot down the draft law. But there's an issue about the role that members of the National Assembly play. So far, oversight, representation, and legislation. Now, it would appear that they are very keen to take over executive roles. Of course, they insist they do not. They're simply patrons of the CDF kitty. But the courts have already declared the CDF unconstitutional. Do you agree with what Parliament is doing?
Okay, quickly. I'll start by saying first what Kenyans told me to say on this show. They told me to give a specific message to Raila Amolo Odinga and to tell him, Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, you have about 80 to 83 members of Parliament elected on the ODM ticket. Kenyans are watching you and they are telling you, please, we want you for the first time to come and give directions to your 80 members of Parliament and tell them not to vote for the Esa Pasari's bill when it comes to the floor of the House. That way, Kenyans will vindicate you, Kenyans will love you once again, and Kenyans will call you Baba once again, meaningfully. So, Baba, if you're listening to this message, Kenyans have told me to tell you, very many of them, that we want you to come out and tell your 83 members of Parliament to deny this bill the votes. That is done. Now, finally, to the question that you have asked. And as I answer that question, I'll tell my good friend here, Mheshimiwa, that sometimes Kenya loses a lot of money in demonstrations. So it's unfair and it's a bad place to be. But we lose a lot more during peaceful times. Unasikia e-Citizen imepoteza 15 billion, unasikia SHA imepoteza 104 billion. Yani, they want us to have peace so that we can lose more billions in times of peace than we lose even when we have turmoil. Now, CDF, NG, what does CDF do? If you come to my constituency, close to half of that money goes into something that I started a fight upon, and I'm happy it's being discussed in Parliament. Are you aware that you as truly Fanyamambo Kinuthia was that young person who came on national TV on the 30th of January 2024 and spoke so passionately about bursaries? I'm the guy who started saying MCA akona bursary, MP akona bursary, and I'm happy that that conversation was picked up by the Senator for Kiambu. It went into Senate. It went into the National Assembly, where on the 23rd of August 2024, the Speaker of the National Assembly said very categorically that they are going to start having that conversation. It would emerge that Kenya spends 4 times more money on bursaries than it spends on actual capitation to schools and free primary education. Such that if we scrapped this rubbish called bursary and put that money into education, it is actually possible to have free primary education. I'm glad there's a parliamentary committee right now, led by Junet Mohammed, discussing ideas that we brought out through a national TV show. What am I trying to say? As you try to entrench NGCDF and say that it's bringing development closer to the people, one of the things that NGCDF is doing is something that it should not be doing. Giving people bursaries. Unasikia kuna constituency na spend 30 million, 40 million, 50 million. And the truth is, if we amalgamate all these monies together through the Ministry of Education and channel it directly to the schools, we can literally make education free. And Parliament has ascertained that, Senate has ascertained that. So what we are trying to do is to entrench within the law mandates to Parliament that literally should have been, those are Ministry of Education mandates. Now we go to what CDF is doing today. The most important function I have seen CDF doing today is building classrooms. Literally, you could train a monkey to build classrooms. If the Ministry of Education was doing their work the way they should, we should not have a school that has got overcrowded children in classrooms. The Ministry of Education should have a way and a mechanism to see that there is a ballooning population and to have a plan that would make sure that every school is having expansion in classrooms. So if mainly they are doing security, and education, because that's what they are doing. Now look at security. Why are we having members of parliament, like in my constituency, being the ones who are having some kitty to build police stations? The National Police Service is an independent outfit that is getting its own budget. So if we allowed the National Police Service to have its own autonomy, to be able to procure, to be able to build its own police stations, members of parliament would not be building police stations that we are doing. So when you think about NGCDF, it is just taking away the mandate of what other places, on other institutions and ministries of government should have been doing, and heaping them on a member of parliament so that he can be able to get away to be re-elected every other time he needs to be re-elected. Truth is, classes can be built by county governments, classes can be built by the Ministry of Education. Truth is, police stations can be built by the police because they have a budget and they can be allocated that budget. Why we have members of parliament coming and unasikia hii police station imejengwa na MP fulani is not making sense.
Okay. I know you've been a member of parliament, yes, and you've overseen CDF projects. Yes. The issue is that many people, and I know the argument will be how good CDF has done and no one disputes that yes, that we need projects across the country. But the demarcation of the 290 constituencies was not to be executed that way. The 290 constituencies were for representation, yes? So don't you think that the push by the National Assembly to ensure that they are the ones running CDF is in total defiance of this constitution?
First and foremost, there are very many ways, as I said, there are very many ways to deal and engage with the constitution. And one of them is to accept that it is a living and active document. And some Mzungu said, when you eat your cake, you can't have it. You can't have your cake and eat it. If we completely agree that Parliament is the house of representation of this country, and they're the ones who make laws, and in our constitution we have options on how you can amend the constitution. Some things you can amend it by referendum, some things you can actually amend them by parliamentary action. Number three, you also have the issue about when you're making a law, you take it to the people. On the issue of NGCDF, there is what we say. There is what technocrats can say. There is the argument about constituencies not being centers of revenue allocation, and they're right. But then there's also the fact that CDF works in a certain ways. Before I went to Parliament, I was of the view that the limitation, the delineation of money, executive at county and national level, and Parliament being the oversight of how money is used, was needed to be implemented like that. When I went to Parliament and I started engaging on CDF and I started engaging with the public and CDF, and I saw the effect and how the public views CDF, my mind changed. Now, the court has ruled that NGCDF, as it existed during that particular issue, was unconstitutional. Of
the 203.
Right?
The 203.
And this was the second time. Remember, there's a first CDF that was introduced by Senator, gentleman from Nyandarua. Karwe. The very first. Murioki Karwe. He's the one who came up with that concept. It was embraced. That particular first CDF, the MP used to determine, hii pesa patia huyo, hii pesa patia huyo. Somebody went to court, they reviewed that, they said this is wrong. Parliament adjusted. It operationalized for a while. Somebody went to court, said, no, this is wrong. They went back, they reviewed. And that has been the process to now the last one. So Parliament, the court has said the CDF, NGCDF Act as it exists is unconstitutional. Parliament has picked that decision, sat down and tried to cure the points where the court said were unconstitutional. And it's now taking it through reading, going to Senate. We are not even sure whether the Senate is going to pass it or not. But should it pass, I expect that somebody else is going to go to court and challenge the constitutionalism of that fund. And this is part of how our democracy is going to keep working. And as this law has been made, I expect it is going to go to all the 290 constituencies. And members of the public are going to be asked the same way they are going to be asked, the same way Fanyamombo was suggesting they are asked about the demonstrations, the Public Order Act, the same way they're going to be asked about this one. They're going to be asked, what do you guys agree? Do you think this is a proposal that Parliament has about NGCDF, about the constituency fund, not NGCDF, about the government allocating a certain amount of money to be implemented at constituency level and managed
under the direct oversight of the member of the National Assembly.
But you see, all funds, in this country are under the direct oversight of the Member of Parliament. All funds, not just NGCDF.
Equal. What about
Whether
direct
any money that goes to the military, any money that goes to State House,
Oversight.
any money
Oversight.
is under the direct oversight.
What about
of the
direct
Member of Parliament.
implementation as a patron?
But you see, even the NGCDF that I was implementing was not under the direct oversight of the Member of Parliament.
Well, I
you
know
get what
that,
I'm saying?
I know there's that argument.
Let me explain this,
Members
Fred.
of Parliament
Allow me to make this position. Parliament passes funds that go to Kura, the Kenya Urban Roads Authority. Parliament passes funds that go to Kera. Parliament passes funds that go to the Ministry of Health. Parliament passes funds that go to Ministry of Education. Nothing stops the Member of Parliament in Parliament right now then following that money and influencing how it comes to his constituency. Are we together? Even those other funds we're talking about.
There's already conflict in that because
but you see, what I'm saying is, what we're dealing with is a conflict between the reality and the ideal. We're talking about an ideal situation here, where the Parliament is supposed to pass a law and then sit over here, wait for government to implement, then come back and oversight that money. That is an ideal situation. But the reality of it is, once I pass a certain amount of money to go to management of a particular issue, as a Member of Parliament, because I come from a particular constituency, and what we must agree is that politics is about the conflict of resources. We are going to be fighting for it. Kesesi is going to fight with the Member of Parliament for Nyeri, for the money for roads. So Julius or Mathenge, whoever gets to the roads people first, then influences. The money we got is not enough to do roads in 290 constituencies. Mimi Junaka kwa roads committee, can you make sure some of that money comes to my road, to my constituency? That's how it works. So this argument that the constituency fund is different is what Parliament needs to do is keep curing all the gaps that...
Should we leave it to Parliament to widen the role of members of the National Assembly?
But
should we leave it to them?
But you see,
it is
their right. No, Fred,
to widen their own
but it is already according to the law. They are the only institution that makes laws.
Shouldn't we go back to people to ask them if
but that
they
is
want
public participation.
It could even be a referendum.
No, I think, Fred...
Can we leave it to Parliament to widen its own mandate?
This conversation is healthy. And
have your cake and eat it.
And it's about strengthening governance in our funding system. And away from the Demonstration Act or whatever Public Order Act amendment, this country requires a referendum law so that the public can exercise sovereign power in taking decisions on key policies. This country requires Public Participation Act so that the public participation process is truly public participation and is guided. The 13th Parliament has tried in promoting public participation, including this particular subject matter of NGCDF. The constitutional amendment bill that has been passed unanimously by Parliament is not only about CDF, it's about NGAF, National Government Affirmative Function Fund, is about Senate Oversight Fund. These are key pieces of funding that will strengthen Parliament in terms of oversight of all other general funds. And to me, this is timely. What Parliament is doing is responding to the ruling by the court so that it's aligned to the Constitution, so that then CDF and all other funds can be implemented within the Constitution. The problem that we have here is that we are slaves to the political semantics of who carries the name and glory of that particular fund. Let me say something about CDF. Since it was implemented, Harambes for schools is a thing of the past. I'm saying so as a practitioner in that sector, and I'm saying so as having been a board member of National Management Committee of CDF, the very earlier version. And I think it has undergone a lot of evolution in making it work. In fact, even in terms of project circle and identifying project targets, 90% of CDF funds goes to programs related to schools. And this has alleviated the burden given to parents in terms of indirect charges, the burden on building of infrastructure. You can see schools are doing very well. And in fact, CDF is the most successful fund in this space. And all what we need to do is to make it work better. I think what Kenyans should be able to ask is, how do we make members of parliament strong enough to oversight this fund?
It was not the original role to implement the fund. Oversight, fine.
No. They are oversighting. Members of parliament are oversighting. I see it. We all see it. And in fact, the return from the public participation is overwhelming in terms of retention of CDF and making it better and even putting more funds. To me, strengthen the legislation, align it to the constitution, put more funds, and ensure that at constituency level, the education and other key services are properly funded and value for the money is because
of time, allow me to allow
is attained. But lastly also, so that county governments don't complain. I've heard Fanyamambo saying counties must also build schools and all that. I agree very strongly. Even in the Kenya Kwanza Education Charter, a recommendation was made that some legislation should be implemented or should be enacted to allow county governments to play a role in the building of schools. This is one thing that can also be captured in the constitution, so that we have many streams of revenue to education. To me, I would like
the National Assembly
different generous sources of revenue to education.
Question is, do you feel you have the right to widen your own mandate?
Quickly, first of all, in the Muli and Kenyans, I really want to invite us to look at the NGCDF Act and its amendment of 2023. I've heard on repetition, Member of Parliament being mentioned on matters to do with NGCDF. And I would challenge you to open up that act and give me any section that Member of Parliament is mentioned in execution. That fund is executed by the National Treasury through the State Department of National Planning with the circle of NGCDF board, sits in Nairobi, very independent. And they establish a committee at the constituency level that are undertaking proposals from public on the key projects that they need to be undertaken.
With a fund
submits, yes, with a fund manager who is an employee of NGCDF, who guides with the district accountant.
Yet we see all these boards with the name of Member of Parliament under NGCDF project. Then why?
Even Kera roads.
No, those are politics. I've seen people even on Kera roads spending. Those are politics of the day. That's by far. And remember, we need to know what caused the establishment of CDF in the first place. It was unequal spread of development, especially during the time where politics were perceived that the development was focusing on the area of stronghold, quote unquote. But this is something that came to neutralize and ensure the entire country receives the spread. Number two, there are issues. Of course, you mentioned severally that this is unconstitutional. I don't know which court does this one, because the recent pronunciation by the Supreme Court on the issues of the conflict of roles has separated that there is no role that the NGCDF is undertaking that is a function of counties. The only thing that was there under NGCDF Act of 2015 was the issue of sports and youth, which, as we talk now, that amendment has been undertaken, and the issue of sports can no longer be funded by NGCDF. Nonetheless, to say, since this thing has been pronounced every now and then about the constitutionality, so what is the unconstitutional in constitutionalizing the NGCDF Act in the current process?
Don't you think it should go for referendum, probably?
Okay, that is a question that I leave it. Okay, Parliament has initiated, because it is an initiative. It's now, it goes to Senate. So we will allow all the process until the right process is undertaken. Because one thing is this, if you look at it, of course, before this bill was undertaken, we went to members of public, the 290, and I know you are on record what members of public are saying, the issues of the cost of education. And I think we should be true to ourselves. If you look at our fiscal space that we have, the constraint in our budget, even right now, at 700 billion money that is allocated to the sector of education is still far away from funding education completely. So what NGCDF bursary is doing is trying to reach out to those who are low in the society and upscale them to balance with the others. The day we will have a budget that holistically can finance the critical services for Kenyans, all these things will have no reason. But for now, with this asymmetrical, please let's allow funds like this one. And it is in the Constitution, Article 204. The question we want to put on the issue of NGCDF, we should also question the coalition fund.
Yet the
We should
interpretation
question the
of
coalition fund that is in the constitution.
is
Because
purely
what
to
the
the
coalition fund is doing is trying to equalize and balance the society.
All right.
So to
Gentlemen.
NGCDF, so let's allow the process. It goes to Senate. Let Senate, being an independent house, also deliberate on it. If there will be an interpretation that it has to go to a referendum, I think to me it will be the best so that Kenyans can speak, because
The
it is
Senate-
money for Kenyans.
And one of the
law
headlines
is meant
reads,
for Kenyans, not for
senators
us.
have threatened to shoot down the draft law.
And
Wait
lastly,
see.
why are we saying?
I only have 2 minutes.
Listen first. Why are we on the front page attacking member of parliament that is greed? Where does greediness come? When it's the money for Kenyans, I think it is wrong.
Gentlemen, I only
It's a
have
wrong publication.
And I'm going to ask you kindly. I only have like 90 seconds for your parting shot. So about 15 seconds for your parting shot only. Start with you, Fanyamambo.
I think, thank you. All I can say is that we only have one country to build, and it is this country we are living in. Some of us don't have passports. I refused to renew mine. Tunakaa hapa tunamaliza hizi shida huku. Zikiisha ndio nitarenew passport yangu. Mahali ili expire nisema I'm not renewing it so that we stick here and we know we have no place to go. But I think most finally is this. As we plan to regulate demonstrations, because we are planning to regulate them, and I see there's a very strong determination to do that, let us also plan to regulate the bad manners that leads Kenyans to the streets.
Right.
If we can take care of these bad manners that government is doing and stop them from doing those things that we do not want, I am telling you, Kenyans will not waste their time going to the streets.
Thank you. Bwana Ngujiri.
I think my final word today comes back to accountability. Let's agree that all of us are accountable for the work, for the words we use, the actions we take. And then once you make an action, you take an action or you make a statement, whether you're a private citizen or a public official, please be ready to account for what you've said and the consequences of what you have said according to the law. I think if we do that, and that's something we've seen across all developed democracies, accountability is a difference between our democracy, where our democracy is right now and where it needs to be. If once we insert accountability to public officials, to public structures, to private citizens, and how we do what we are doing, including how we are dealing with also the younger generation. So this Gen Z are our children, for some of us. Once we introduce the issue of accountability and we make sure that everybody understands that you're accountable for what you say and what you do, there will be some accountability. I think we're going to be able to now mollify a lot of what is going on and then allow ensure the law is also accountable.
Okay.
And the people who are in charge of the law are accountable for the actions they take.
Thank you. Parting shot only, Bwana Sosyon.
Strongly.
Yes.
Lot of public.
30 seconds only, and I can see you already removed your microphone. So should we give Bwana Ruto the chance?
Yes.
30 seconds only before you fix your microphone.
Thank you so much. I think mine, I would say, number one is that let's protect our democracy, let's grow our democracy, let's not destroy the fabric of our democracy, let's not politicize our institution, but rather we support, let's not profile individuals or institutions or communities to perpetrate our political agenda. And the civil society should come in an open manner to support and build democracy, call upon and criticize for accountability, but let's not perpetrate hate among people, among communities, among categories of people, among the age in our population. But let us remain focused and ensure that we build up our country for ourselves.
Thank you so much, Bwana.
We should continue struggling as a country within the governance space to ensure accountability to the people of Kenya. That's a constitutional requirement. It is not an option, it's not a luxury. And therefore, all institutions, including our security organs, the police service, the judiciary, the executive, we must be accountable to the people of Kenya in every way. And we should not get into gray areas when it comes to issues of the lives of citizens and what we should do. And on public demonstrations, I believe even a standalone act is required to guide the public demonstration so that we have decent demonstrations at every time in this country, together with the referendum law and Public Participation Act. Let us not be blind to what we need to do to advance our democracy, since we are one of the best democracies in the world. So there is room for us to improve as a country, and we depoliticize critical aspects of democratic governance of this country. And for CDF and other devolved funds, they should continue to be strengthened and be aligned to the Constitution so that it can add value to the country. And other institutions that wish to participate in national development and streaming funds, like county governments who would like to participate in building of schools, should be enabled through the Constitution and through the law.
Thank you so
that
much.
is how to progress our country.
Wilson Sosion, former MP and also former Secretary General of the National Union of Teachers. Fanyamambo Kenothia, a lawyer and political commentator. Ngunjiri Wambugu, former MP Nyeri Town, and Julius Ruto, MP Keses constituency. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time at TV47. Discussing the big headlines. United in Greed is a big one on the front page of the Daily Nation. Abductors Playground. That's the front page of the Standard this morning. After the break, we'll switch gears and talk about matters health, asthma, and respiratory tract infection in children. My colleague Arno Dida will be driving that conversation. My name is Fred Indimuli. Good morning.